The Neverending Trial. USPTO pushes the Comicsgate trademark fight all the way into 2024. Hello, this is Robert Romano with Comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about the trademark trial of Comicsgate between Ethan Van Sciver and Preston Poulter. It's carrying over into the trademark trial and appeal board. There was previously a re-examination proceeding that found that the Comicsgate trademark was validly used in commerce under the Comicsgate trademark that was registered beginning in 2018, fully registered in 2020 by Antonio Malpica. It was assigned to Ethan Van Sciver in 2021, and it was validly used under a licensing agreement at the time between Antonio Malpica and Anthony Romano, no relation, Dark Gift Comics, for a couple books, Wart the Wizard, Sunday Follies, and The Dark of Midnight. And that the re-examination proceeding was a win for Ethan. And so his attorney went forward and said, all right, you've already decided that the trademark was validly used in commerce. So those were two of the counts in the trademark trial at Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. Therefore, let's just pass judgment on those since you already decided that it's been used. But Trademark Trial and Appeal Board said, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a full trial anyways, even though the use issue was seemingly already settled at the re-examination proceeding. The answer is no, it's going to go to a full trial. And so I believe that all of the uses that were raised in the re-examination will once again have to be raised in the cancellation trial, which is now proceeding apace. So let's share the screen here, and I can show you what's going on with this. Never-ending trial, USPTO pushes Comicsgate trademark fight all the way into 2024. After a win in the re-examination proceeding that found that the Comicsgate trademark was validly used in commerce, USPTO has denied a motion by Ethan Van Sciver for judgment in the case, pushing the trial all the way into 2024. The ruling found, and we have it right here, this order is a precedent of the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. So the re-examinations are a brand new process that were created in the Trademark Modernization Act of 2020. And so there's not been that much cases that have come forward under this yet. So especially at the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. So what they had to consider with Ethan's motion recently was whether or not, or if you're in a cancellation proceeding and then you're brought into a re-examination, the re-examination finds that you did use it in commerce, what bearing does this have on the cancellation trial? And that's kind of the tenor of what this is here. So it's a precedent. I'd say it was probably pretty well argued by Ethan's attorney because it ends up setting this precedent. If it hadn't been a precedent, it would have been like, oh, that's not a good argument. You can't, this has come up before, and in this case, therefore we're not going to, that's not a really good argument. But in this case, it presented probably a brand new issue for the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board to consider, which is what happens to what bearing does the re-examination proceeding have on the cancellation trial? And so this might have been the first case of that kind, and therefore this order is a precedent. I think that means it might eventually be cited in the TMEP. This is like a kind of rules and proceedings for the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, and they'll have blurbs with kind of the precedents that have been established over the years. So congratulations, Ethan and Preston. I guess you guys are making history, setting precedents at the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. And so we can read from this. I summarized some of this in my Twitter thread here. The ruling found that, quote, re-examination and expungement proceedings have no preclusive effect in TTAB proceedings against non-parties to those ex parte proceedings. So even though the re-examination proceeding ended up in Van Sciver's favor, the trial still must proceed. According to the ruling, quote, the USPTO's rules confirm that, quote, termination of an expungement or re-examination proceeding in favor of the registrant does not bar future non-use cancellation actions under Trademark Rule 2111 with respect to the registration. Now, I would just, kind of pause here and say this was not a future cancellation proceeding whatsoever. This has been going on for quite some time. Preston Poulter, he attempted to register the Comicsgate trademark starting in 2020. And that's when he initiated, after Malpica had the trademark awarded to him in July of 2020. By September and October, he's filing a cancellation proceeding. So this trial at the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, it really began in 2020, towards the end of it. And so this has been going on for quite some time. This is not a future, with all due respect to TTAB, this is not a future non-use cancellation proceeding. This is one that was already in effect. But they made the decision that they made here, and we can read through this kind of briefly. It sets, it'll give you some idea of what's going before the board going forward. This is from May 19th, cancellation number 920-75375, Common Sense Press Incorporated, Pocket Jacks Comics v. Ethan Van Sciver and Antonio J. Malpica, by the board. This proceeding comes before us on Ethan Van Sciver and Antonio J. Malpica's notice of termination of reexamination and motion for judgment. Motion is fully briefed. That was filed on January 9th, 2023. And now it's May 9th. This is coming out on May 19th. So it took them 5 months, February, March, April, May, 4 months to hear this, just to hear this motion. It gives you an idea how quickly the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board is moving in the world after COVID. I think they've got a major backlog over there, like many federal agencies. Background: respondent Ethan Van Sciver owns, by virtue of assignment from respondent Antonio J. Malpica, registration number 6102744 for the standard character mark Comicsgate. Comics disclaim for comics in international class 16. Preston Poulter filed a petition to cancel the registration on October 1, 2020, asserting claims of non-use, abandonment, and fraud. Respondents filed an answer on December 29, 2021, denying the salient allegations in the petition to cancel and asserting the affirmative defense of unclean hands. On March 23, 2022, petitioner filed a petition to the director of the USPTO requesting re-examination of the registration number. The same day, petitioner filed a motion to suspend his cancellation proceeding pending the final determination of any re-examination proceeding the director might institute. The director instituted a re-examination proceeding on May 9th, 2022. So here, that's a year ago. Therein, respondents were informed that to avoid cancellation, they must submit evidence sufficient to, quote, establish use of the mark for comics as of the deadline for filing a statement of use pursuant to Trademark Act Section 1D, which is August 13, 2020. So the Malpica registration had to have, that Ethan acquired, had to have shown that the mark was validly used in commerce prior to August 13 in 2020. And then on May 19, 2022, the board granted petitioner's motion to suspend, finding the re-examination proceeding may have bearing on this cancellation proceeding, inasmuch as it could result in cancellation of the involved registration. The parties were ordered to notify the board within 20 days of final determination of the re-examination proceeding, so the cancellation proceeding could be called up for appropriate action. The re-examination proceeding then was terminated on January 6, 2023, when the director had issued a notice of termination stating, upon review of the evidence of record, the USPTO determined the registrant has demonstrated use of the mark in commerce for all goods subject to the proceeding. The evidence and arguments provided by the registrant demonstrates valid use of the relevant goods in interstate commerce. Registrant has also established that the relevant goods were provided through trade channels that directly affect interstate commerce during the period time relevant to this proceeding. So this, when this happened, maybe you'll recall Ethan's stream, and everyone was really happy because they thought that going forward, this reexamination proceeding was going to be good news for the cancellation trial. Now it sounds like it might not be, or it just didn't matter. Or maybe it did matter. Maybe there's no way they're ever going to overturn this when the same exact evidence is presented to the trademark trial and appeal board. Not being a trademark attorney, I'm just going to keep reading here since the board is going to tell you what the law is here. Accordingly, no change is required to the registration and the proceeding is terminated. That was the reexamination proceeding. Before us now is respondents' notice of termination of reexamination and motion for judgment. Respondents request that the board enter judgment in their favor on petitioners' non-use and abandonment claims based on issue preclusion, or in the alternative, issue a show cause order to petitioner as to why judgment should not be entered against it on these claims. Now, I had noted in my previous piece on this that this book or that this Comicsgate trademark, the one that Malpica licensed to Anthony Romano, was almost certain, it was definitely used. And I know that because I bought the books that were in question that were presented as evidence. As noted in this column, as a customer of both of the products at question in the reexamination proceeding, The Dark of Midnight by Anthony Romano and Wart the Wizard Sunday Follies by Anthony Romano and Mandy Summers, both were definitely sold and delivered prior to the August 2020 legal deadline. I bought Dark of Midnight in May 2020 on lulu.com, where it remains on sale today. And I also backed the original Wart the Wizard campaign, in which every backer got a copy of Wart the Wizard Sunday Follies in October 2019. Which remained on sale as a separate product on Stuntman Comics while Wart the Wizard was in demand before selling out recently. As a customer, I can attest I received both of my purchases after my purchases, with Wart the Wizard fulfilling beginning in July 2020 and Dark of Midnight, which delivered in June of 2020, all prior to the August 13, 2020 legal deadline prescribed by USPTO. The pictures in this article are of the books I bought. And I also kept my receipts. So there's my receipt for Dark of Midnight, and there's my receipt for Wart the Wizard. Let's see, with the Dark of Midnight was on May 18, 2020. And again, the Wart the Wizard campaign, I backed that in 2019. And that was even prior to all the legal proceedings. Now, the Sunday Follies, you know how crowdfunding campaigns, you start out with a small campaign, then you raise more money and say, hey, let's put more stuff into the main product. And that's what Mandy did. She said, hey, Anthony, why don't you do Sunday Follies? And that became a part of the main product for Wart the Wizard. So every backer of Wart the Wizard, they got a copy of Sunday Follies. Very importantly, both bore the Comicsgate trademark, albeit Romano's no relation to this author, again, own iteration of it, owing to his own application for the trademark dating into May 2020. Which has also been assigned to Ethan. So Anthony Romano, he had an application for the trademark, and now Ethan Van Sciver owns that one. He also owns the Malpica registration. And so this licensing from Malpica to Anthony Romano, that basically Ethan owns that now as well. So these books are subject to the proceeding. And so these are the books that are going to come up at the cancellation trial now. And we went over what the reexamination proceeding, how that was terminated. Let's go to now why this has some bearing on the cancellation trial or no bearing on the cancellation trial. Basically, T-Tab here is saying that Preston Poulter gets 2 bites at the apple, but really he's had multiple bites at the apple on this. And he, I get the feeling these proceedings are going to continue, for quite some time. There's also the defamation trial in New Jersey. Ethan's countersuing for $4 million for trademark infringement. Preston Poulter was printing books with Comicsgate on them while the Malpica registration was active. And so I guess I think they're calling it, what is it? Trademark piracy for sure, but and certainly infringement, but counterfeiting. Ethan and his attorney are alleging that Poulter actually was counterfeiting the Comicsgate trademark during this whole period. Before us now, respondents' notice of termination of reexamination and motion for judgment. Reexamination proceedings are ex parte proceedings created by the Trademark Modernization Act, and related regulations went into effect December 18, 2021. Both types of proceedings are instituted in connection with the registration by the director of the USPTO, either on the director's own initiative or pursuant to the receipt of a petition. Upon determining that there exists information and evidence that supports a prima facie case of non-use of the mark for some or all of the goods identified in the registration, any person filing a petition requesting institution of reexamination must show all documentary evidence. After submitting the petition, however, that person has no further involvement with any reexamination or expungement proceeding that the director may institute. Such a proceeding, if institute, proceeds ex parte. Both stating, then it cites the statutes here. Let's see, and that the procedures for the proceedings shall be the same as the procedures for an ex parte examination. After institution, the registrant has an opportunity to rebut the case of non-use. If the registrant is successful in rebutting the evidence and complies with all outstanding requirements, the proceeding is terminated with no change to the registration. Let's see, the statute contains explicit estoppel provisions, however, that bar the filing of future expungement or reexamination proceedings as to the identical goods or services once a proceeding of the same kind has been instituted. I think what this means is that, Preston Poulter kind of fired this bullet. It didn't work. He's not going to be able to do it again. However, neither the statute nor the regulations set forth a limitation on any party's ability to petition to cancel a registration just because it is or has been subject to a reexamination or expungement proceeding. So here's the unprecedented, now precedented case of what happened here is that you had a petition to cancel a registration that was already in existence. Then you do the reexamination hearing. Now, what happens at the trial with relates to the, at the cancellation trial as a result of Ethan winning the reexamination proceeding? Consistent with the statute, the USPTO's rules confirm that, quote, termination of an expungement or reexamination proceeding in favor of the registrant does not bar future non-use cancellation actions under the rules with respect to the registration. Again, this wasn't a future cancellation proceeding. This was one that started way back in 2020, and it keeps getting paused. We'll get to that in a minute. Trademark Modernization Act was supposed to expedite proceedings, by the way, and clearly it's slowing them down. It is also clear that the decision to institute or not shall, quote, shall not prejudice any party's right to raise any issue and rely on any evidence in any other proceeding. Okay, so what they're saying here is that the law was not set up to just have the reexamination be a alternative to the cancellation trial. So it really is two bites at the apple, and it might disadvantage registrants if they have to keep on going back to court. It's like, oh, you got a reexamination. First, you got a cancellation. Oh, now you have a reexamination, and that's going to slow things down. Now you got to do the cancellation trial again. And as the legal costs are mounting. By the way, if you want to help out with the legal costs, my understanding is that the 2023 All Caps Comics and Comicsgate apparel campaign by Ethan Van Sciver, links in the description. The profits from this, I believe, are funding the legal effort that Ethan is waging now in Washington, D.C. at the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, as well as in New Jersey, where the defamation and countersuit for trademark counterfeiting is taking place. So please do back the 2023 All Caps Comics and CG apparel campaign. You get some Comicsgate apparel. There's the All Caps hats as well. And I believe there's Comicsgate shirts. There you go. There's a nice Comicsgate shirt, 2018, soy-free. Let's see what else. There's a nice black one. I forget which ones I bought. But I backed quite a few of these. This is a really nice, I like this one. If I didn't get this one, I'm going to get this one because I really like that shirt. And I'm really looking forward to receiving these. There's the hats. See Comicsgate, and it's got the little TM there, hats. So please do back the All Caps and Comics and CG apparel campaign by Ethan Van Sciver. It can definitely help with this. Let's go back to the not ruling, but whatever. There was a motion for judgment. It's being denied. That kind of sucks. In as much as reexamination and expungement proceedings are ex parte, they have no preclusive effect against a petitioner who seeks to cancel that same registration through a cancellation proceeding, even if that petitioner also submitted the petition requesting the institution of a reexamination or expungement proceeding. So they cite some 1971 case here, that there's a quote, litigants who never appeared in a prior action may not be collaterally estopped without litigating the issue. Due process prohibits stopping them despite one or more existing adjudications of the identical issue, which stands squarely in their position. So if they had knocked down Preston's claims of non-use and abandonment just in a summary judgment, I guess what they're saying here is that that would have gone against Poulter's due process rights to basically appeal. So he lost the reexamination. And so they're treating, I guess, the cancellation trial as some sort of appeal of the reexamination under kind of a theory of due process. Claim preclusion only applies where both proceedings involve the same parties or their privies. Let's move on here. There's a bunch of precedents cited. Let's see, examine integrity, decision to pass applicants marked to publication, not dispositive. Okay. Furthermore, inasmuch as a person who files a petition requesting an institution of a reexamination or expungement proceeding is not a party to that ex parte proceeding. As we recently stated, quote, if a party cannot appeal the outcome of an earlier proceeding, the second action is not barred under either claim or issue preclusion. And that's a, let's see, 2019 Federal Circuit case. It is, quote, a traditional preclusion principle that neither claim nor issue preclusion applies when appellate review of the decision with a potentially preclusive effect is unavailable. In view of the foregoing, we hold as a matter of law that the termination of a reexamination or expungement proceeding in favor of a registrant cannot be the basis for the registrant's assertion of claim or issue preclusion in a proceeding before the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board to cancel that registration. This is consistent with the statute, which explicitly provides the parameters for when expungement and reexamination proceedings have estoppel effect and does not include in that a preclusive effect for TTAB proceedings. Nor is there a basis to issue a show of cause order to a petitioner in a cancellation proceeding in that situation. Instead, upon receiving notice from the parties that a pending reexamination or expungement proceeding involving a registration has been terminated in favor of the registrant in a cancellation proceeding to cancel that registration, the board will simply resume the proceeding and reset dates. So there you go. We're resetting the trial. Once again, I'll show you how many times this has happened already. Accordingly, respondents' motion for judgment based on either claim or issue preclusion and in the alternative for a show cause order is denied. And now proceedings are resumed. So here we go again. We got a new trial schedule now. In view of the termination of the reexamination proceeding that occasioned the suspension of this trial, proceedings are herein resumed. Remaining discovery, disclosure, and trial dates are reset as follows. Expert disclosures, August of 2023. Discovery closes in September. Plaintiffs' pretrial disclosures due November of 2023. Plaintiff's 30-day trial period ends on December 21, 2023. Defendants, that's Ethan, pretrial disclosures are due on January 5th, 2024. Defendant's 30-day trial period ends in February 19, 2024. Then there's a plaintiff rebuttal, March 2024. Plaintiff's 15-day rebuttal period ends in April of 2024. Plaintiff's opening brief is due in June of 2024. Defendant's brief is due in July of 2024. Plaintiff's reply brief is due July 18, 2024, and then there could be even an oral hearing, optional, that would be due by July 28, 2024. So now this has actually happened a bunch of times. The original trial, it was going to be between Poulter and Malpica. At that point, Ethan hadn't yet acquired the official Comicsgate trademark. Now, Ethan was using Comicsgate trademark prior to Antonio Malpica. And so the fact that it was eventually assigned to Ethan is probably correct as a matter of law, because Ethan was citing a common law trademark. You'll recall in 2018, Box Day wanted to do a Comicsgate imprint. And Ethan actually ended up, I didn't know about this, when I was originally reviewing all this, but Ethan actually sent a letter to Box Day from his attorney saying cease and desist, and he ceased and he desisted. In any event, that was the common law trademark, and the question was whether there was a need to whether there was a need to get a registration, and then Antonio Malpica appears, and he says that he's going to register it. And it's like, okay, kind of going forward, Malpica is kind of acting, I don't know, as an agent for Comicsgate or for Ethan. Invariably, he assigns or sells or whatever the trademark to Ethan. But the original trial was originally going to start in 2020 and go all the way into 2022. And then there's motions back and forth. And then, eventually after the assignment, then the proceedings have to kind of start up again. And so then after Ethan gets the trademark assigned to him, then there's a new trial schedule starting in August of 2021. And that was going to go all the way until January of 2023. And then there were more motions back and forth about what to do, and trials being, we're going to have a reexamination proceeding. Here's another trial schedule. Let's see, this one starts in August of 2021, and then it was delayed. The trial keeps on getting delayed because of the procedures. I mean, these are established under law and regulation, but they slow down trademark hearings at the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. One of the things that the Trademark Modernization Act of 2020 was supposed to address. So prior to the reexamination, we were going to start in December of 2021, and it was going to go all the way till June of 2023. And then we have the reexamination, and then it just keeps on getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And here we are with the new trial schedule now that the reexamination is over, and the trial is going to resume. And again, it'll start apparently. It's starting now, but there's a discovery. Expert disclosures are due on August 23, and discovery will close in September. So at least it's starting to get underway here. But I got to say, I don't think this is what Congress intended when they passed the Trademark Modernization Act. It was actually rolled into the Omnibus Appropriations bill of 2021. Sometimes they'll take a bill that's just kind of sitting there and they'll say, hey, we want to pass this. Do you guys on the other party agree? And they say, yeah, sure. Let's stick it in the appropriations bill. And that way it'll have to pass. And that way it'll get signed into law. That's what happens pretty much every year, actually. And then you can see here, it is in the Consolidated Appropriations Act, Subtitle B of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021 had the Trademark Modernization Act in it. And then we can read from a House committee report about what was intended by the reexamination and ex parte proceedings. So this kind of goes to congressional intent. I find this stuff interesting. I have to look at this at my day job at Americans for Limited Government. Let's see here. House Committee Report 6451. Both ex parte, expungement, and reexamination evaluate use in commerce. Use in commerce has a single definition under the Lanham Act. Thus, use in commerce in the bill follows that definition, and a registrant's evidence of use must be consistent with that definition, including the case law interpreting the term. Section 16A and 16B do not refer to specimens. Thus, if documentary evidence of use presented by the registrant is consistent with the definition of use in commerce in Section 45 of the Lanham Act, the form of evidence need not follow the rules or practices of the USPTO for specimens under Section 1A of the Lanham Act. Now, a proceeding under 16A or 16B may be initiated by a third-party request under the petition process detailed in 16A subsections B through C and Section 16B subsections C through D. A petition must include a verified statement setting forth the reasonable investigation undertaken by the petitioner to determine the mark was or is not in use. The director is authorized to promulgate rules that establish procedures for the new proceedings. As a general matter, the conduct of these new proceedings follows the procedures for examination under subsection B of Section 12 of the Lanham Act. In establishing procedures for the new proceedings, the director may consider the need for efficiency. They need to follow a sufficient process for a trademark registrant to respond, and the need to guard against abuse of these new proceedings. So congressional intent was not to have the reexamination procedures be abused, by petitioners, to kind of gum up the works and mount legal costs, et cetera. And yet that's exactly what's happened here. And considering how long to set the time for a response to an initial institution, the director should take into account the need for a registrant to research and collect all evidence sufficient to show use of the mark in commerce. Any timing consideration should take into account that in some proceedings, the number of goods or services at issue may be numerous and that the collection of evidence may take some time. This concern should be balanced against an expectation that proceedings be expeditious and that undue delay could prejudice a petitioner who legitimately seeks to clear unused marks from the register. But as we found out from the reexamination, notice of termination and of reexamination and motion for judgment, this was actually Ethan's this was his motion for judgment in lieu of the winning the reexamination procedure. In any event, you have this is the congressional intent, was to expedite the trademark kind of cancellation process, right? Mark's not in use, just do a reexamination. You can knock it out real quick. But if you win that case, then it's like, okay, let's use that in a cancellation trial. And then let's just go to summary judgment. They're saying, no, you can't do that because Congress didn't explicitly provide for that in the, although I think the intent is clear. They wanted to prevent abuse of these new proceedings. And I think it was abused. That's unfortunate. But kind of these things happen. But you can see here, the petition for reexamination was started in March of 2022, March 23, 2022. And so just to get, that's when the proceedings are going to be suspended at the trademark trial and appeal board. And then it takes a whole year. It took like 9 months to get to the notice of termination issue. But then just to get back to the trial, it takes more than a year because we're going to have expert disclosures now due in August. So really, a Trademark Modernization Act is the let's make trademark proceedings even more onerous for registrants and petitioners too, because this is it weighs on both sides when legal costs are mounting. And so I think that, again, if you want to support the Comicsgate trademark, if you don't agree with the trademark trial and appeal board did here, if you think that because this trial is going to go on for a whole another year, this is gonna, this is pretty more than a year, really. And you want to help out Ethan, I've backed a 2023 all caps comics and CG apparel campaign. I really encourage you to do so as well. The links in the description here. Let's see if I have any more material here. There's the House report. There's all the other stuff. All right. We can jump back to my thread here. Let's see, we went through all this stuff. Yeah, more or less, we're right back where we started in 2020 with the Comicsgate trademark trial still on the horizon, but now with trial dates fully set, we think. Maybe there'll be more delays. Plaintiff trial period ends December 2023. Defendant trial period ends February 2024. Briefs are due by June and July of 2024. So what can Comicsgate do to help? Again, keep promoting Comicsgate, keep supporting Ethan Van Sciver and other great Comicsgate creators, and back the all caps and CG apparel campaign, the profits of which fund the legal effort, according to Ethan. 4 years is an eternity to wage a protracted legal battle, but I believe in Comicsgate. And I know win or lose this round, you'll never stop fighting for better comics and an end to woke dictates and dictums never surrender, I say. So I think we need to keep fighting this. The trademark trial is going to keep on going. This is actually, I think that's Uncanny X-Men 200, John Romita Jr., my favorite all-time artist. And what a cool picture. There's Magneto. I guess he's turning himself in to the World Court or something like that. I have to go back and read this again, but what a cool picture. But yeah, there it is. Comicsgate on trial. Yeah, we can, and there's a couple of thoughts that come to mind as I kind of review all this and kind of the need, what Ethan took upon his shoulders with the trademark is a mountain of, kind of legal concerns to do with it. And I think Preston Poulter has had a long-term plan to bring litigation against Ethan Van Sciver. My understanding is that he originally wanted to have criminal charges brought against Ethan. He had there was the disclosure of a video with him and his ex-wife that had wound up on Pornhub. Somebody discovered it. It got kind of republished. And so he wanted to sue Ethan for that. There's the trademark, again, going at Ethan and Comicsgate. And then there's this defamation trial. So there's really 4 bites at the apple there. Then there's the reexamination proceeding. That's 5. The different kind of legal maneuvers that have been brought against Comicsgate and Ethan Van Sciver specifically now. So I think that this is kind of a long-term strategy on Poulter's part. And I think he's just going to keep on going. It's very important, I think, that kind of Ethan prevail in this. I'm an interested party. I own Comicsgate.org, and Preston Poulter actually threatened me on Twitter that, you're going to lose your website. Because he's going to have the trademark, and he actually it's now come out that he wants to remove, people from using Comicsgate from YouTube. The plan is to deplatform Comicsgate creators and kind of conduct a reign of terror. As all this is coming out, it's like, oh man, this really sucks. How do I protect the website? Maybe I should contact an intellectual property attorney. I live in the Virginia area. They practice in DC. So maybe they would have the most experience to address this. And I found right in the town I work in, Fairfax, Scott Hudeman. That's Ethan's trademark attorney right now. And that's when Ethan decided to take on the trademark. It turns out that maybe the best way how do you protect the website as well? Make sure whoever owns Comicsgate, is willing to promote the website. So Ethan's been very generous in promoting Comicsgate.org. He actually, when he went on Timcast, Tim Pool, he mentioned Comicsgate.org, and it crashed the website, kind of in a good way. It actually also catapulted Comicsgate to the top of the Google rankings very briefly. But we can just search for Comicsgate on. We don't want that one. That's not the right one. Let's see, Comicsgate. All right, there you go. There's Comicsgate.org, number 2 on Google now. It actually briefly got to number 1 on Google after the Timcast, and then it didn't. And then kind of you have to maintain a high level of traffic there. Let's see what else also pops up here. Oh, look at that, Comicsgate.org, Comicsgate video on Twitter. That's the number 3 result. And so what have we knocked down? We knocked down the 2018 Inverse article, the 2018 Washington Post article. There's Comicsgate L's. Looks like we're ahead of them. And there's an ad that I purchased for Comicsgate.org. And so it's like, how do you keep Comicsgate in the public eye? This was one way to do it, was to have a website that would promote Comicsgate. You can go to Comicsgate.org and get all the latest Comicsgate videos. That's primarily what it's doing right now. I've also included links to cgnow.net as well as to creatorgo.com. Just taking a minute to load here. A lot of images. I got to speed this up. But I want to show you there it goes. So there's the latest Comicsgate videos for the creators that I found beginning in 2020. There's cgnow.net. You could check that out. And you'll find Comicsgate campaigns that are currently not in demand. They've actually already fulfilled, and they have kind of surplus stock So do check out cgnow.net. You can find a number of products here that will deliver right now. You just click on one of these links and you'll find Comicsgate campaigns that are delivering right now. Michael Bancroft maintains this website. He's done a fantastic job with it. And I do, recommend that you check that out at CG Now. But also, I wanted to make sure you had the latest campaigns in the Comicsgate and indie comics space. So here's the Creator Go tracker for 2023. And it seems to be about 38 campaigns that you might want to back here. You can also check that out on the website, creatorgo.com. And I believe that's going to be / 20 CG / 2023. So this is, it includes Comicsgate campaigns. It also includes some indie and or Iron Age campaigns here. But you can find lots of more projects that are currently funding right now that are also, kind of, in this space, and people want to have alternatives to kind of the woke, kind of corporate driven comics these days that have a political agenda, a social agenda that I think that comic skaters don't agree with. So do check out creatorgo.com / CG / 2023, and you'll get the latest campaigns that are currently funding right now. Some of them are in demand. If you want something, it's like, oh, I don't feel like waiting, then you can check out cgnow.net, and you'll get the latest products there as well. And do check out comicsgate.org, and you'll get the latest Comicsgate videos. You can also find us at Comicsgate Video on Twitter. Do subscribe for that too, and you'll get the latest videos on Twitter. Occasionally, this thing is going to crash. I was moving to a brand new server, and it actually, the transition didn't work out too well. And so sometimes you fail. Sometimes you're doing something and you fail, you fall down, and then you just have to pick yourself up again, and then you just keep on fighting. I got knocked off Google for a couple days. I was like, oh no, comicsgate.org's off of Google forever now because I didn't do the server transition correctly. But then it kind of came right back a few hours later, a couple days later. And then there was another hiccup with the server. It went off Google again. I had to get it back on there. And there it is now. You can see that comicsgate.org is still in the public eye. And there's going to be a comicsgate.com. I'm still working on that. I've got developers working on that. Trademark soon. But actually, it's making considerable progress in terms of onboarding creators and doing payouts in pretty much an automated fashion, so that I or whoever administers the website won't have to do too many chores related to it. Hopefully, it can kind of administer itself, and creators can get, kind of a user-driven platform where you can come in, you can create your account, you submit your forms, you submit your details, and then you can launch a product right away, and then a campaign right away and start funding right away. So I thought that was very important, and also to have a kind of automated payout system that's kind of user-driven as well. And so that's still coming along. I've invested quite a bit into that, but I did want to kind of promote some of these websites. I actually went to my very first football game in the year 2000. It was the Monday Night Miracle game between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. And I got to, I'm a big Jets fan, long suffering. And so, but in that game, they were like down by like 23 or 30 points or something like that at halftime. And like half of the crowd's going home. They're like, oh, the Jets stink. We're going home, but they're not going to win tonight. And me and my buddy, we, I'm only 20 years old. We were like, we're staying. We're staying. We're gonna try to come back here. And when did you know it? The Jets did come back, and it was kind of funny because then people start to come back into the crowd as the Jets are mounting this unbelievable comeback with Vinny Testaverde and Wayne Corbett and some of these other characters that were on the team. I think Al Groh was coaching at the time. And this was in the post-Parcells era. But it was actually one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the NFL and certainly in Monday Night Football. And they actually win it in overtime. And, even Jumbo Elliott caught a touchdown in that game. He reports as a receiver. If Jumbo Elliott can catch a touchdown, I tell you, you never quit. You just keep on fighting. So it's kind of like the Jets, but maybe it's also like the scene in Terminator 2 where it's like, kind of the false endings you see in stories sometimes where you think the villain's defeated. And so there's Arnold. He's the Terminator. He shoots the frozen T-1000 that had been, I guess, encased in liquid nitrogen. And he just blows him into a million pieces. Hasta la vista, baby. Boom. Psh, and then he just shatters into a million pieces. And it's like, oh, yeah, he killed the T-1000, right? And he's like, no, it's going to reform. It's going to come back again. You see this in a trope in video games a lot, too, where you like get to the end of Zelda Ocarina of Time. You defeat Ganon, right? Oh, yeah, he's dead now. Oh, wait, no, he's coming back. You got to defeat him twice. Or like Mega Man 2, like you think you defeat Wily, and then he turns into a freaking alien. And then and then it turns out that was a hologram, and you got to chase him again, and on it goes. And I think that's what these legal proceedings are like, and in front of Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, but also federal courts, state courts, on and on they can go. And but you keep fighting. I think Ethan means to win this and to be here for the long haul with Comicsgate. And so there's the 2023 all caps comics and CG apparel campaign. Again, links in the description. And that I think the profits of that will help to fund the efforts going forward here. So we're going to stop sharing now. We're going to go back to the chat here. We have some chats here. We can show some chats. Thanks. We just see K-Sis is watching. So we'll just go through K-Sis's comments, and then we can kind of wrap this up. We've been going on for 46 minutes, but maybe if I start talking to the chat, they'll start talking back to me. K-Sis, get the 2023 all caps and Comicsgate apparel. Apparel, that's what I meant to say. What do we do when we all fall, Robert? Thomas Wayne would say we pick ourselves back up. We keep on fighting. And I know that Comicsgate will never surrender. That was kind of my closing thoughts on the Twitter thread there. What was I saying? And I already closed it, so my visual presentation won't be as good. 4 years is an eternity to wage a protracted legal battle, but I believe in Comicsgate, and I know win or lose in this round, you'll never stop fighting for better comics and an end to the woke dictates. Never surrender. So yes, we pick ourselves back up. That's what you do when you fall down. And then K-Sis says, I'm the one brave enough to comment, LLL. Everyone can kind of catch this on the replay. I did want to give the Comicsgate creators and fans the opportunity to have an understanding of what's going on with these legal proceedings. And this is just one of the venues, the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. At one point, there were three. There was the reexamination, there was the cancellation trial, and there's this trial in New Jersey. So now we're down to two venues. But really, at one time, there was four because Preston was originally trying to bring the defamation suit in Texas that failed because of jurisdictional issues. Ethan's obviously not a resident of Texas. He does business from New Jersey, so that would have been the proper venue. So then he's got the trial over there, and on it goes. That's just what happens. I think this is kind of what Zach was talking about with the Mark Wade lawsuit. Delay after delay after delay, and it can be. Probably, in his case, it might have been demoralizing, and so he went for a settlement. But by the time this is all done, so let's just hypothetically think about what can happen in this particular cancellation trial. There's one of two outcomes: either the trademark that Malpica originally filed in 2018 will be canceled in 2024, 6 years later. That's one possibility, or Ethan wins. And then that's going to probably have a lot of bearing on his countersuit against Preston Poulter. But even right now, I think the countersuit is still valid because the trademark's still valid. And Preston was printing books. He was counterfeiting, according to Ethan and his attorney, the Comicsgate trademark with these books that he was printing under the Pocket Jacks label. He puts Comicsgate trademark on it. He also had a certification mark he attempted to get filed, but that you can't have a registration and a certification mark at the same time. So certification mark went by the wayside, but not before he was using it. Preston was actually, even though he hadn't been granted yet, he was slapping this certification mark onto other people's books, and they were agreeing to go along with it. I think there were some comic skaters who actually, or people who maybe they were, I don't know, anti-CG at the time, but now they're with CG. People have kind of come forward to say, hey, Preston contacted us as well to try to do this. And so I think there's a lot of evidence of what Ethan and his attorney are describing as the counterfeiting. And so but again, you could have even if it gets canceled, the Malpica mark, right? Ethan he has his own application currently in the USPTO for the service mark, which I think is the one that's the most important. In the end, Ethan was promoting Comicsgate on his YouTube channel and monetizing it and engaging in commerce with it, to support campaigns since 2018. So that's long before Preston goes to file in April of 2020. So what will happen is even if the Malpica mark is canceled, then will come in the order of who filed applications will be Preston's mark. Ethan will oppose that on the basis that in 2018 he was using Comicsgate, so Preston has no right to it. And so that could, how long will that take to go through? You'll have to go back to the trademark trial and appeal board. If the Malpica mark fails falls in 2024, then it can go to then next up is Preston's application, and then that will be opposed. That'll be another trial. Maybe that'll take another 2 years. We could be up to 2026 by then. And then you get to Ethan's application. If all goes according to, if the dominoes fall in that direction. Now, Preston could lose right now at the cancellation trial by 2024. There's already evidence in the record that the Comicsgate trademark under the Malpica mark was licensed to Anthony Romano, and he's been using it ever since then. And that still stands. The licensing is still in effect. He's got more books coming out. I think he just did Lightbringer. I know Hunting Alice is coming soon. I think that'll have the label as well. And so there's a kind of continued use in commerce that's already read into the record. So maybe that does bode well for the cancellation trial. I cannot say for certain. It's just like, you think you're winning, and then sometimes it looks like, oh man, that was a setback. Now we have to kind of start over again with this trial. But these trials could go on and on and on. So then you could get up to, say Malpica mark falls down, and then the Preston mark falls down. That's 2 trials. So again, you could be up to 2025, 2026 by then. Then you finally get to Ethan's application, maybe by 2026. And then that would be, and then what? Preston's probably going to want to oppose that and say, no, he wasn't using it properly, and the service mark doesn't count either. And then there'll be another trial at the trademark trial and appeal board. And so, this could take, just at the USPTO level, just to get through all these applications, could take quite some time. This could take years. And that, I think, maybe that's part of Preston's strategy. Is to try to exhaust Ethan and to exhaust Comicsgate. But I don't think the delays are really helping him. As time goes on, the Comicsgate brand is growing. Again, Ethan was just on Tim Pool, and he was promoting Comicsgate. So I think in terms of the public perception, again, if you go to, maybe I'll share my screen again because I wanted to. Like, what else do you find when you look up Comicsgate? Let's see here. Share screen. Entire screen. Yeah, we share that. And then we go back to here. And if you look up Comicsgate on Google, here's EVS. He's mentioned pretty rapidly in the succession here. Let's see, there's a picture of Ethan. If you look for Comicsgate, what else do you find? Jawbreakers, Cyberfrog is the first thing mentioned. And then if you check out the Wikipedia article, again, this all goes to public perception. There's a comicsgate.org that Ethan has promoted. Here's the Wikipedia article, which Michael Bancroft accurately calls a slander farm. Was a right-wing campaign. in opposition to diversity and progressivism. Well, this is kind of dated. It's like, oh, this is ancient history. It's like, no, it's not. We're gonna beat this on Google, by the way. I'm confident that in 20, as we have .org there, it gets more traffic. Eventually, it's going to overtake the Wikipedia article. I think Comicsgate.com could do even better than .org in terms of knocking the Wikipedia article off the top result there. And so that's why I bought the ad. I wanted to, let's see, if we scroll down here, you can see sponsored Comicsgate.org. So occasionally this will appear in the middle of the page. Occasionally it'll appear at the top of the page. Kind of the algorithm determines that there. But when you look up Comicsgate, who owns Comicsgate? Who's involved with Comicsgate? Hey, look at that. It's a picture of Ethan Van Sciver on Wikipedia in association. He is a e-comics artist. Ethan Van Sciver has been a central figure in Comicsgate. And now he's got he has the actual trademark to it. So, I mean, in terms of what the public perception is, I think that's what the trademark really comes down to, is what is the public perception of who owns Comicsgate. And I think when you look it up in the registry on USPTO, you find Ethan. When you look it up on Wikipedia, you find Ethan. When you look it up on Google, you're going to find, oh, EVS Comics there. That's Ethan Daniel Van Sciver, is an American comic books artist. So there you go. Ethan Van Sciver, associated with Comicsgate and owner of the trademark. And that's been going on since 2018. He's been using this in commerce. So I think that ultimately Ethan is going to prevail in these proceedings. I believe in Comicsgate, and I want to ensure that everyone is going to be motivated to keep on fighting here. Let's see here. Here's K-Sis again. I'm going to trademark the CG Slums. CG Slums trademark. It's official. Tell Dark Gift. LOL. I don't know what the arrangements are, but I know that there's an opportunity to license the Comicsgate trademark from Ethan. If you're serious, you can just contact him. He'll get you with the attorney, I think, if you want to start making some swag. It probably needs to be cool, though. I think there's some quality approval process there. So, but maybe CG Slums could be a thing that could be licensed. And you could say, make T-shirts or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. Not sure what would people wear in the CG Slums, I wonder. We could check in with Finatra. He says, serious, I'm teasing Darka. Well, I think that there might still be a market for CG Slums apparel or something like that. But yeah, you could check in with Finatra City and see what they wear in the CG Slums or something like that. In any event, been going on for close to an hour here. I think we fully briefed on the Comicsgate trademark and what's happening at the TTAB. So we're going to create content out of this. We're going to try to keep you all informed. And I guess, I can also look in at the defamation trial. Maybe in future broadcasts, we'll take a look at some of what the backs and forths going on there, especially since this TTAB thing is not really going to even be firing up for a few more months. So with that, again, please back the CG and all caps comics apparel campaign for 2023. The profits go to the helping to Ethan pay for the lawsuit here. Okay, sis, excellent work, Robert. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Well, it's glad to have thanks for listening, and everyone that's catching this on replay. This is Robert Romano with Comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and everyone have a great weekend. Take care.